Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania starts off Phase 5 of the MCU with it starts off Phase 5. It has a lot of the common MCU-isms throughout, such as forced humor, a barrage of CGI characters and settings, and many Deus Ex Machina moments. I am a little mixed on this movie because, unlike Thor Love and Thunder, which was outright terrible, this one has elements that were kind of good, namely the primary villain Kang. With larger stakes than usual, a good family dynamic, and a threatening antagonist, this one almost has the makings of a good MCU movie. But it's held back by the MCU-isms I mentioned earlier, along with a lot of contrivances that get our main characters out of trouble. This is my spoiler-free review, but be on the lookout for my spoiler talk video within the next couple of days. I'll start by going over my thoughts on the general plot, which is a simple one. As shown in the trailers, Scott Lang and his family get sucked into the quantum realm, a world beneath ours as they say, and they have to get out. But a dangerous conqueror known as Kang rules over the quantum realm and causes problems for them. Like I mentioned, there's a family dynamic between the Langs, the Van Dynes, and Hank Pym that mostly works. Because he'd been stuck in the quantum realm before and missed out on so much time with his daughter Cassie, Scott wants to reconnect with her. It's been 5 years since he'd seen her, so naturally, 9-year-old Cassie grows into 26-year-old Kathryn Newton. Paul Rudd is likable as Scott as always, but Cassie is not, at least not at the beginning. She comes across as a smug, self-satisfied activist, and even disrespects her father by saying he isn't doing enough with his life, after he literally played a key role in saving the universe.
You're the worst.
What?
Oh, she is the worst.
Terrible.
I can't believe she said that.
And of course, she's naturally good at everything. The first Ant-Man movie makes it clear that creating a functioning suit, let alone learning how to properly use it, takes a lot of education, discipline, and training. Yet a teenager is able to do it all on her own just by reading a few of Hank's journals. It kind of reminds me of Riri Williams being able to basically duplicate an Iron Man suit despite not having even a fraction of Tony Stark's experience or resources. Cassie does get better as the movie goes on and learns to appreciate everything her father has done, but I don't like the fact that the movie made it feel like Scott has to learn a lesson from her about fighting for the greater good. He's already done that on several occasions. He doesn't need to learn that lesson. Michael Douglas is back as a less grumpy Hank Pym. He's happy to have his wife Janet back, and he has good chemistry with Michelle Pfeiffer. He doesn't seem to do a lot in the first half of the movie, but there is a lot of build up toward the vital role he ends up playing during the final battle. Michelle Pfeiffer does a great job as Janet Van Dyne, and has far more screen time in this movie than she does in the previous one. Honestly, it feels like she's the main character at times. She has the closest connection to the quantum realm, as well as Kang, and arguably plays a more important role than Scott or Hope. You know, the two characters that the movie is named after. My main issue with Janet's character is her lack of communication with everyone else. She was in the quantum realm for far longer than any of them, yet she never told anyone about the dangers of the realm or Kang. Because of this, Cassie builds a machine that sends a signal to the quantum realm, because she's basically as smart as Hank Pym now, and Janet tries to warn them only when it's already too late. Other characters bring up her lack of communication several times throughout the course of the movie, but it's never really explained why she refuses to tell anybody about her time in the quantum realm. I mean, she knows her husband and daughter have already dabbled in quantum research for years now, so if the threat of Kang was so dangerous, you'd think the first thing out of her mouth would have been, "Never mess with the quantum realm again." This lapse in judgment simply seems like a contrivance to get all the characters sucked into the quantum realm so the plot can happen.
Well, that's just lazy writing.
Moving on to Hope, her character is good, but I just wish they'd given her more to do because she felt sidelined by her mother in this one. I really love Evangeline Lilly in this role, and Hope had a pretty good character arc throughout the first two movies. The filmmakers didn't seem to know what to do with her in this one, and outside of a romantic forehead touch, even her romantic chemistry with Scott is almost non-existent in this. She probably had more of a connection with the broccoli guy. That'll make more sense if you've seen the movie. But far and away the best part of this movie was Kang the Conqueror. Jonathan Majors knocks this performance out of the park, and is proving himself to be a big player in Hollywood lately. Amidst all the goofy humor of this movie, we get a villain who is dead serious about his mission. He's ruthless, intimidating, manipulative, and powerful, and his backstory and motives are clearly laid out. It almost feels like a completely different writer worked on his scenes and his dialogue. And this leads me to my next point, not just about this movie, but the MCU as a whole. It's okay for comic book movies to take things seriously. And no, I'm not saying MCU movies are all supposed to be like The Shawshank Redemption, but the MCU used to know how to balance humor and drama. I mean, the original Iron Man, Thor, and Avenger movies all had humor, but it wasn't so constant and repetitive. The earlier phases of the MCU knew when to be serious, when to be dramatic, and when to provide levity. The humor was also smoother and much more aligned with the characters themselves. Tony Stark was a smartass, for example. Thor was a fish out of water. The humor works in their cases because the jokes that are made align with who their characters already are. But Quantumania has so many weird random jokes thrown in there. There's one odd running joke where a jello-looking being comments on how many holes humans have, and how he wishes he had holes.
What?
There's another exchange between Scott and his daughter where they're in a bind. He says, okay, 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 okay. And she says, you're saying okay a lot. And he says, okay. A word to all the writers at Disney out there, repeating words and phrases is not humor in itself.
Oh, they fly now!
They fly now! They fly now!
The MCU style of humor can be very hit and miss. I did laugh a few times, but most of this movie's jokes just didn't land for me. As for the green screen and effects, it's pretty much what you'd expect. If this was 2008, these visuals would probably be considered mind-blowing. But in 2023, the quantum realm and its inhabitants don't stand out from what we've already seen from movies like Guardians of the Galaxy and Thor Ragnarok. I remember the original Ant-Man when he goes subatomic as a last resort to save his daughter. Shrinking smaller than molecules was a risky move and something that was treated as terrifying and mysterious. This movie, however, seems to treat the quantum realm as just another fantasy world. Characters can breathe just fine without their masks for whatever reason. Oh yeah, MODOK is in this one too. And he does take his mask off, and his face is terrifying. I've got nothing more to say about that. Phase 5 of the MCU stumbled out of the gate with this one. There are just too many plot contrivances, and the humor is just weird and takes away from a lot of the more serious moments. While I consider it a lower tier MCU movie, it's also not the worst thing the MCU has to offer. Like I said, I like the overall family dynamic. I think Paul Rudd is a solid leading man. Kang was a standout villain, and I like the creativity of the probability storm scene. Kang looks promising as the MCU's next big villain, so I'm looking forward to seeing what they build toward there. Stay tuned for my spoiler talk review on my channel, and let me know your thoughts in the comments, but please keep them spoiler free. Like and subscribe if you enjoy my content. Thanks for watching, and I hope you all have a good one.